Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different and taking a little bit of a deep dive into Nvidia. Nvidia has basically been wiped out in China. And this is, as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, the most valued company in the history of the planet when we're talking about a market cap perspective, now sitting at about $4.5 trillion and topping out at just about $5 trillion. I want you guys to keep in mind, this is more from a market cap perspective than the entire crypto market combined. Bitcoin, Ethereum, every altcoin, every coin combined. Nvidia has a larger market cap than all of that. And while we've seen a major run in this stock, you can now see a kind of a floor or a ceiling being created with sideways trading for effectively the last few months from when I'm recording this video. Well, now we're hearing that this company has been wiped out of China and went from 95% market share to zero. We're going to be hearing from the CEO directly. We're going to play for you guys a video. And I'm also going to give you guys my analysis. Is this stock, Nvidia, due for a correction? Is it going to be entering a bear market? Can it continue to run higher forever? And is it time to short this stock? Now, I want to keep you guys up to date on everything that's happening in crypto, blockchain, investing, and the overall financial space. Sometimes we do deep dives into individual assets like we're doing today, and sometimes we talk about the macro environment happening in finance. So make sure you guys give the video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. And let's get right into today's video. Is it time to short Nvidia? Now, it is very rare that I kind of do deep dives into stocks outside of the crypto sector or crypto related. But as crypto, I believe, is already topped out for the 2025 cycle and will probably be entering and moving back into a bear market, I think that it's really important that as new info comes out, we adjust our portfolio, adjust our thesis, adjust our insight, and also focus not only on this channel, but in our individual portfolios. Nothing I say is financial advice. These are my opinions and my analysis on this stock, and I obviously could be wrong. But I think that it's important to kind of understand what is going on. And there have been a lot of changes occurring in this stock, Nvidia, and also in the global trade, and also really the race to build chips that can support the artificial intelligence growth that we're seeing. And so being wiped out of China is huge because remember, China is a much larger population, a much larger market, maybe not GDP wise or financially, right? Because US is the largest market in the world, but it is very important to understand the US has about 350 million people and China has well over 1 billion. So there's clearly differences and there's clearly going to be more demand and more insight if a company is pushed out of the US or pushed out of China or pushed out of India or any of these other large countries around the world. And so now with Nvidia's China business being 100% out, Nvidia is treating the world's second largest computing market as a rounding error for now. And so what does that mean, a rounding error? They're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. The research that I have done on this channel has shown that Nvidia's revenue is for China market is about 20 to 30% of their overall revenue, which is a lot. I mean, that's a large amount. I mean, imagine you get a 20 or 30% cut to your pay, just like instantly, right? That's a big deal. And meanwhile, the stock price has not even blinked. And to me, as an analyst in these markets, I'm looking for opportunities. I'm looking for overvaluation. I'm looking for undervaluation, right? Bear market bottoms, we want to buy. Bull market tops, we want to not buy and potentially sell or bet against. Now, I am not somebody who likes to short stocks because that is a losing game. There are a lot of short sellers in the market that make a lot of money, but it's very, very high risk. And you can get wiped out very quickly. Now, this comes into the valuation perspective, right? This company is the most valued company on earth, hitting $5 trillion, more than the entire crypto market combined. This is really mind-blowing to think about. It's more than double Bitcoin's market cap and more than the entire market cap of every crypto in existence. That is pretty unbelievable. So to imagine this kind of company can double from here, I think that there's more likely, just personally, just looking at the data, there's more of a chance, right? Now, this could be 51 to 49 chance, but there's more of a chance that we're going to drop before we go to $9 trillion. And the only hurdle there is that we have governments and major companies that are supporting and are forced effectively to purchase Nvidia products, because there's only a few companies like Nvidia that are creating these kind of new age chips that can power, the things that we need to power, like AI. But let's listen to Jensen Huang, who is the CEO of Nvidia. This user on X said extraordinary words by Nvidia's CEO. He said, in polite terms, Jensen Huang effectively says that the chip export controls on China were one of the most self-destructive decisions ever taken by the US government. He says it caused Nvidia to go from 95% market share to 0 in China, effectively controlling the whole chip market in China to go into 0. Think about that. And by the way, I also think that the numbers from China are skewed. I think that a lot more of their business is from China than we're being told. And again, even if it was just 20% of their market, like of their revenue, why wouldn't we see an instant 20% drop in the stock, or even a 5% drop or a 10% drop? We've effectively seen no major moves in this stock at all after we heard about this announcement. Now, I'm going to play for you the video in a second, but and that he can't imagine any policymaker thinking that that's a good idea, that whatever policy we implemented caused America to lose one of the largest markets in the world to 0%. In a separate interview, which we're going to show you, he effectively says that they may have lost the US, the AI race, because, as he puts it, winning the AI race means that 80% of the world uses American tech stack, and that given that China on its own is 50% of AI research and 30% of the technology market, then them not using American tech stack means that by definition, America is forfeiting and conceding the AI race. This is from the Nvidia CEO. In that separate interview, he also completely ridicules the narrative used by the US to justify the export controls, that they were preventing dual use of advanced Western chips for military purposes by China, saying that no government, surely the Chinese government, is going to be building their defense on Western technology. To sum it up, in a foolish attempt to slow China's AI development, not only did the US lose the largest market, they may have lost the AI race itself. Now, I don't necessarily know about that. About them losing the AI race. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of technology and a lot of very smart people around the world in many different countries that are trying to win the AI race. But I don't think that I don't think we can call a winner right now. And again, the US is going to pump so much money into this, in my view. Again, just what we focus on a lot on this channel is like the Bitcoin mining companies that have pivoted to AI, and understanding the amount of money. These are like blank checks from Google, from OpenAI, from XAI, to build out these data centers. Because the chips are one piece, but this is a very small piece. I mean, the other piece is obviously the large language models, or the software that is actually the AI. But you also have the compute on the back end. And you need immense amounts of energy and immensely large data centers. And this is why we've been mostly focusing on the Bitcoin mining companies that have been pivoting to data center for AI. And these stocks are doing extremely, extremely well. Look at Iris Energy, look at TeraWulf, look at Bitfarms, look at Cypher Mining. There's a lot that are doing really well. And we have a lot of companies that are growing, and they're, like I said, blank checks going in to build this technology. So with all the competition from these differing companies in the US and the infrastructure that's being built out, I think that the US is probably going to do fine there. But that doesn't mean in the short term these stocks shouldn't have corrections, or maybe the whole AI sector. I mean, we've been hearing on from a lot of experts, financial news channels, etc. AI bubble, AI bubble, AI bubble, AI bubble. And when there's a bubble, you guys have to understand, when there is a bubble, you don't realize or know when the top is going to be until way after the top. Now, somebody who watches these markets on a regular basis and kind of looks for top signals, this is a top signal that they went from 95% to zero in China, one of the world's largest AI markets, and the stock didn't even blink. That's interesting in my view. And whether Nvidia can make up the difference in terms of revenue, they probably will over the course of time. But the stock still should correct just based on that announcement. So let's listen to the CEO and what he says about this. And don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up right down below. And also let me know your comments on where you think this stock should be and if it's overvalued. And what are you doing in your portfolio to action that analysis? Let's listen in.
At the moment, we are 100% out of China. And so China is 0% of, we went from 95% market share to 0%. And so I can't imagine any policymaker thinking that that's a good idea. That whatever policy we implemented caused America to lose one of the largest markets in the world to 0%. But anyhow, in all of our forecasts, if there are any shareholders out there, all of our forecasts, we're assuming zero for China. If anything happens in China, which I hope it will, it'll be a bonus. But it's a large market. China is the second largest computer market in the world. It is a vibrant ecosystem. I think it's a mistake for the United States to not participate.
So effectively, Jensen Huang is telling shareholders that they're assuming going forward no China. But the fact that they had China and China was in their projections, that's where the valuation of this company is so high. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't stay high, right, in the trillions of dollars. Maybe it should. I don't know. I'm not here to value the company. I'm just looking at whether it's overvalued or whether it's undervalued or whether it's a neutral. And the fact that they lose 20% of their revenue stream and of their market share and 95% in, you heard them, the second largest market in the world for this. That would tell me that probably 20% is a low figure. It's probably higher than that. And this is where we're seeing some other developments happening. First, I want to show you guys this. The Nvidia of China says that revenue spiked 14x last quarter. The ensuing stock frenzy made its CEO one of the richest people in the world. And so they're already seeing massive growth, and it's probably going to grow even more now that Nvidia is out of China. And we're seeing news stories like this. Nvidia and Uber joined forces to accelerate autonomous driving. And so Nvidia needs to make up that revenue that they lost in China. Otherwise, we're going to see the stock price drop. And I don't think that they're going to be able to do it fast enough, right? I don't think for the stock to stay the same. This is great that Uber is going to partner with them. They're going to partner with Uber and all of that. And maybe they're going to partner with some of the other AI companies. But I think that the market is in irrational exuberance right now, in the euphoria phase, in the complacency phase in the market cycle. And if you guys know anything about this chart, this shows you the psychology of markets. After the euphoria phase, you're in the complacency phase where any little dip will get bought up because people are still bullish and saying, oh no, everything's fine, don't worry. I mean, Bitcoin's not going to drop. Bitcoin's not going to go in a bear market. MicroStrategy's never going to drop. MicroStrategy has accretive value because of Bitcoin per share. And we're seeing the same thing here with Nvidia. They lost the second largest computer market in the world and no change in the stock price. That news alone should have brought the price down 20, 30% instantly. Now, whether it would recover after that drop, that's a whole different story. But we're not seeing any moves in the price. Now, this could be because a lot of these AI companies have blank checks and they're making partnerships and deals and stuff like that. But I think that we have to really keep a close eye on this stock and potentially start to look at maybe not being so bullish on it, right? This doesn't necessarily mean short it. It could mean buy protective puts or selling calls, covered calls if you own the stock. Because we also have to think about what's happening in the general economy, right? We're seeing a lot of companies laying people off. GM is laying off hundreds of people, Rivian laying off hundreds of people, Target laying off thousands of people, Charter Communications laying off thousands of different people, the US government in shutdown. A lot of people are in furlough, they're laying people off supposedly permanently. You guys have to remember that they offered federal employees a buyout earlier in 2025, and these people would get paid through the end of September if they resigned at the end of September. And well, we're now past the end of September, so these people are no longer employed by the government. So what are they going to do, right? We're already seeing a lot of people having hard times looking for jobs. So the general economy already looks kind of wavery and potentially due for a correction. And so if that occurs, just a general economic correction plus the loss of one of the largest markets in the world for these Nvidia chips, this could bring the stock price down even more accelerated due to all the other macroeconomic factors. And so this is what I'm looking at. And I'm not saying that Nvidia is not worth this much in the longer term, but in the short term, right, the next 6 to 12 months, there is a very high possibility that we're going to see a massive, massive correction from a market cap perspective. I mean, if we look at Tesla, for example, Tesla right now is worth $1.4 trillion. But it was worth this much prior as well. You guys can see in 2021, around this time of the year. And again, if we're looking at the Bitcoin cycle, we're basically at the same point that we were 4 years ago now. And you can see that Tesla went from billions of dollars in market cap. I think it went to like trillions of dollars in market cap. I think it went to around $500 billion. And you can see it went from November of 2021 into the end of, or the beginning of 2023, it had a 72% decline. 72%. It went from $400 to under $150. Now it has recovered multiple times since then. You can see we recovered in the end of 2024, took a big dip from end of 2024 into 2025, a 42% dip. 42%. And from December 13th of 2024 to April of 2025, basically about 4 months, it went down 40%. And it's recovered since then, right? But if you look at the Nvidia stock over the last 5 years, straight up effectively, and there's been no major corrections. And now it's exited one of the largest markets in the world for this kind of technology, and there's been no correction. In my view, it is due for one. And I think that you guys would agree based on the data that we just laid out and the thesis that we just laid out that it is due for a correction. So this could be one of many different strategies. One, shorting, which is very high risk. Two, buying protective puts, which is less risk because you're only out essentially what you're putting into a put if it does continue to go up or stay high. Or just raise capital so that if we do have a correction, we could buy that correction. We could buy that dip in the market. Now, I don't know what the dip is going to look like. I mean, if we take $185 price, if we subtract, let's say 20%, that would be $148, $150. If we take 185 and we subtract 40%, it would bring it down to $111. Now, is that possible? I mean, again, that would be wiping out trillions of dollars in market cap. But at the same time, this is the most valued company on the planet. Even Apple, if we look at Apple, Apple is $3.91 trillion, so just about $4 trillion. And by the way, they haven't really created anything besides Google Glass and those Apple Vision Pros that nobody likes in years, right? It's $4 trillion. Is this due for a correction? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, there's a lot more volatility over the last 5 years in Apple stock than there is in Nvidia stock. If we look at what's another AMD, which is another kind of chip company, You can see AMD is $400 billion. And it's had up and down through the different cycles, through the different years. So I don't know what the answer is. I just think that there is way too much complacency in this stock. And when we look at complacency on the psychology of market charts, what happens after complacency? Straight down, correction, bear market. And this is very, very likely that we're going to see something to this degree if the macro environment continues to deteriorate. And if this company is not able to recover these the revenue that they lost by exiting China. Now, maybe they're going to get an agreement with China and they'll reverse whatever they did so that Nvidia goes back into China. But I think that's going to take a little bit more time than being superly optimistic about it. Let me know what you guys think down below on this video. Let me know if you like these kind of deep dives into individual stocks outside of the crypto and crypto related stock space. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos. I'll see you on the next one. Crypto on.